The letter arrived on a rainy afternoon, sealed with wax and smelling faintly of lavender. Clara Williams sat at her small kitchen table, staring at the envelope in disbelief. She hadn't expected anything unusual, not today, not ever. Her life had been quiet for years, filled with simple routines and quiet evenings alone. But this letter changed everything. It was from a law firm in a town she had never heard of, Rose Hill, and it contained a message that made her heart race. She had inherited a mansion. Her great-aunt, Eleanor Whitfield, a woman she had only heard of in passing during childhood, had passed away, leaving Clara as her sole heir. The letter explained that the property included a large estate on the outskirts of Rose Hill, known for its gardens and history. Clara's first instinct had been disbelief, but curiosity was stronger. A week later, she found herself driving through winding country roads, past rolling hills and fields of wildflowers, toward the place that now belonged to her. When she finally arrived, the sight took her breath away. The mansion stood at the top of a hill, its stone walls covered with ivy, its windows tall and arched like something from another time. The iron gates creaked as she pushed them open, revealing a long, tree-lined driveway leading to the grand entrance. It was beautiful, but there was something else, something almost unsettling about the stillness that surrounded it. The air felt thick, as though the house itself was holding its breath, watching her approach. Inside, the mansion was filled with dust and shadows, but also elegance. Antique furniture, chandeliers, and faded paintings lined the rooms, hinting at a past filled with grandeur and mystery. As Clara explored, she found herself drawn to the windows overlooking the backyard. And there she saw it. A garden. Or rather, what remained of one. Tall hedges surrounded it, hiding it almost completely from view. The iron gate leading into it was locked tight, covered in rust, with an old sign above it. The Garden of Forgotten Dreams. Her pulse quickened at the name. In the mansion's library, she discovered more clues, old journals, faded photographs of the garden in its glory days, and stories of Eleanor's obsession with it. But no keys. That night, Clara couldn't sleep. The garden called to her in a way she couldn't explain, whispering to her from the darkness beyond the windows. As the clock struck midnight, she found herself standing by the locked gate, staring at the twisted iron. And then she saw it. Half buried beneath the ivy near the gate, something glimmered faintly in the moonlight. A small, ornate key. Her heart pounded as she picked it up, feeling its cold weight in her palm. Without hesitation, she slid it into the lock. It turned smoothly. The gate creaked open. A soft breeze stirred the air, carrying the scent of jasmine and something else, something familiar. Clara stepped inside, and the moment her foot touched the garden path, a strange warmth spread through her chest. Memories, vague but powerful, rushed back. Dreams she had long forgotten. Faces she couldn't quite remember. And in the center of the garden stood a man, waiting for her. Clara froze. The man standing in the center of the garden seemed untouched by time, his dark hair tousled, his posture elegant yet relaxed, as though he belonged there. He was gazing at her with quiet intensity, as if he had been waiting for this exact moment. Moonlight spilled through the branches above, bathing the garden in silver light. The scent of jasmine grew stronger, mixed with something else, like old roses and rain-soaked earth. Clara's voice barely rose above a whisper. "Who are you?" The man's lips curved into a faint, knowing smile. "You've come back," he said softly, his voice rich and calm, with a hint of something old-fashioned in his tone. Clara's heart pounded. "I think you're mistaking me for someone else," she said, trying to steady her voice, though every instinct told her this was no ordinary encounter. He took a slow step forward, his gaze unwavering. "No mistake," he said gently. "You are Clara Whitfield." She blinked in shock. "My name is Williams," she corrected automatically. "Clara Williams." His eyes softened, but he didn't seem surprised. "You once were Clara Whitfield," he replied, his words stirring something strange within her. "Many years ago." Clara's breath caught in her throat. Her great-aunt's surname. But that wasn't possible. The man looked at her with such familiarity, it made her dizzy. "I don't understand," she whispered. He tilted his head slightly, as if considering how much to tell her. "This garden remembers," he said. "And so do you, somewhere inside." Clara's hands trembled as she took a hesitant step further into the garden. The air shifted instantly, warmer, heavier with memories. She glanced around, noticing details she hadn't before. Vines hung from stone arches. Ancient statues stood among the flowers, their faces serene. The paths twisted and turned as if guiding her toward forgotten places. And, somehow, it all felt familiar. She looked back at the man. "You know my dreams," she said, the words leaving her lips without thought. He nodded slowly. "I have kept them," he said simply. "All these years." Clara's heart twisted. The dreams she had as a child, the ones she could never quite remember upon waking, flooded back in flashes. Secret gardens. Hidden places. A boy waiting for her among the roses. It had been him. Her knees felt weak. "Who are you?" she asked again, her voice breaking. The man's gaze softened, full of longing. "My name is Elias," he said. He reached out, his fingers brushing the air between them but not quite touching. "I was your dream keeper," he whispered. "And once, much more." Clara's breath hitched, her mind swimming. "This isn't real," she said, shaking her head, though the garden pulsed with something undeniably alive. Elias gave her a sad, tender smile. "It is as real as your heart allows it to be," he said. He gestured gently toward the garden's heart, a glowing fountain surrounded by silver flowers. "Everything is waiting," he said. "All the dreams you lost, the love you left behind." Clara's chest ached with a longing she couldn't explain. "And if I step further?" she asked, her voice trembling. Elias's smile grew bittersweet. "Then you will remember," he said. "And everything will change." Clara stood in the center of the garden, her heart racing, Elias's words echoing through her mind. "Then you will remember." The garden seemed to pulse around her, alive, breathing, watching. Each flower swayed gently as if whispering secrets too old to speak aloud. Her feet moved on their own, guiding her toward the glowing fountain at the garden's heart. As she stepped closer, a strange warmth filled her chest, spreading through her limbs, soft but consuming. With each step, images flickered at the edges of her mind, fragments of memories, dreams half remembered and quickly forgotten. She saw herself as a young girl, running through the very same garden, laughter spilling from her lips. She saw Elias, younger but unmistakably him, watching her with quiet affection as they played among the silver flowers. She saw nights under moonlight, their hands entwined as they whispered wishes into the air, promising never to forget each other. Tears blurred her vision as the memories grew clearer, more vivid. She reached the fountain, its water shimmering like liquid moonlight. When she looked into its surface, her reflection changed. She was herself, but younger, dressed in flowing white, her face glowing with joy. And beside her stood Elias, his hand resting gently on hers, their smiles filled with unspoken love. Clara stumbled back, her breath caught in her throat. "It was real," she gasped, her voice shaking. Elias appeared beside her, his expression tender. "Yes," he said softly. "You were Eleanor's niece by blood, but you were also the girl who once lived here long ago." Her mind swirled with confusion. "But how?" she asked, her voice breaking. "The garden keeps what is lost," Elias said gently. "It holds onto forgotten dreams, waiting for the souls who left them behind to return." Clara's hands trembled as she realized the truth. "I was her," she whispered. "I was the girl in the garden." Elias nodded slowly. "You loved this place," he said. "And you loved me." Tears streamed down her cheeks as she struggled to reconcile her life with the flood of memories returning to her. "I don't understand," she said, her voice breaking. "Why now? Why after all these years?" Elias's gaze softened. "Because you're ready," he said. "You found the key. You opened the gate. You came back when your heart was quiet enough to hear the garden's call." Clara's breath shook. I don't want to lose this again, she whispered, the thought of forgetting him unbearable. Elias's hand reached for hers, warm and steady. You don't have to, he said, but there is a choice. She looked at him, her heart aching. What choice? She asked softly. Elias's eyes darkened, though his smile remained gentle. You can return to your old life, he said. The garden will fade. The memories will grow quiet again. You'll go on as you always have. Clara's throat tightened. Or, she asked, barely able to speak. Or, Elias said, his voice like a soft breeze, you can stay. He lifted her hand to his chest, pressing it over his heart. Here, he whispered, where your dreams never end and nothing is forgotten. Silence filled the air, thick with magic and longing. Clara's heart raced. It was impossible. And yet, it felt more real than anything she had ever known. Her choice waited. Her heart knew, but her lips had yet to speak it. The garden was utterly still, wrapped in a hush that seemed to stretch beyond time. Clara stood there, her heart pounding under Elias's steady gaze, her fingers still pressed to his chest where she felt the soft, rhythmic beat of something ancient and steady. She could feel the weight of the choice before her, not just in her mind, but deep in her bones. Her old life, a quiet, simple existence filled with familiar streets and everyday routines, waited beyond the garden walls. But here, inside this hidden world, her heart remembered everything. Her laughter among the flowers. Her whispered promises under the moonlight. The love she had lost, but now found again, waiting patiently for her return. Elias's voice broke the silence, gentle and calm. There is no right or wrong, he said softly. Only what your heart desires. Clara's eyes shimmered with unshed tears as she searched his face. You waited for me, she whispered. His faint smile carried both sadness and hope. I would have waited forever, he said simply. Clara's breath shook. I don't know how to leave everything behind, she admitted, her voice trembling. Elias reached out, his hand cupping her cheek with a tenderness that made her ache. You wouldn't be leaving anything, he said. You would be coming home. Her chest tightened. She realized in that moment that it wasn't about giving something up. It was about finally choosing what had always been hers. The garden had called her back for a reason. She had been searching for belonging her entire life, never understanding what was missing. But now, standing here, she knew. It had always been this place. This love. Him. With a steady breath, Clara lifted her hand to Elias's, holding it tightly. I choose to stay, she whispered, her voice strong and certain. A soft smile spread across Elias's face, and for the first time, the garden seemed to exhale, releasing a wave of warmth and light that wrapped around them both. The flowers bloomed brighter, their colors vivid and glowing. The air filled with soft music, like wind chimes and laughter. The mansion beyond the garden shimmered, its windows glowing with golden light. Clara felt her body grow lighter, freer, as though shedding the weight of years she didn't even realize she had been carrying. Memories settled fully in her heart, no longer fragments, but whole and vibrant. She remembered everything, every moment of joy, every tear, every promise. And through it all, Elias remained by her side, unwavering. They walked together through the garden, hand in hand, their hearts beating in perfect rhythm. As they reached the fountain, Elias turned to her, his eyes shining. Welcome home, Clara, he whispered. She smiled, her heart overflowing with peace and love. Thank you for waiting, she replied. They stood there as the sun began to rise, bathing the garden in soft, golden light. And beyond the walls, the world went on, unaware that somewhere, hidden and eternal, two souls had found each other again. In the garden of forgotten dreams, where no love was ever truly lost.